So hello everybody. So I decided to start using some like a WordPress files because they already created some of them for free on Figma community, but also because everybody can access the preview of that specific theme, and we can use that to practice and see how we can build better design systems. And I want to make this fast to show you a little bit of my process and how we can implement those things in future projects. Okay, and now also with the rise of a lot of like no coding tools, I believe will be very interesting to organize in a much better way everything that we can do using Figma and using no coding tools or even open sources tools like WordPress. So today I will start using this Blue Note theme, and I will click here so we can check the preview. So pretty much like you can see the desktop, tablet, and mobile versions, and some of them, they don't look very good. I think when they open, something is wrong, I believe. But for the other ones, everything looks pretty good. Okay, so this is the file that actually was created by WordPress team, but I made a review. Actually, I'm starting from zero, from the scratch, and I'm just checking right now what are the things they created. So there's a couple of things they created and a couple of things that I believe we should build ourselves to make this work. Okay, so they have some text styles, but they don't have colors. They don't have a couple of things that I will suggest to do. But let's start. Okay, so I will just do that, and you can just follow me as I flow into that. Okay, here also they created some style sheets that we can use that is really useful actually for us. There's the colors, the dual tone filters that they created. There's some buttons that actually is not even buttons, but we can just build them. We are going to organize all of that here together. There's some patterns they created that is looking super cool. Some SVG and some other reference they left here. Okay, so let's start. So I think first thing that we can for sure is start organizing is the typography, because it's already something that they already created the text styles. But since Figma introduced the variables, I believe there's much more interesting ways to build that. Okay, so in this case, I will build a new collection and I will start using a string, right? So if you see my screen here, pretty much I have my first collection. The first collection that I have, I will rename as a typography settings, okay? The first one that I want to use, as we can check right here, right now on the styles, probably we just have a couple of them, right? So for headings, we have the old standard, the paragraph. Actually, for everything they're using old standard. That is easier. Okay, so no problem. So what I will do now is creating the font family. So font / family, and for headings, I will use a specific value that is gonna be the name of this old. Let me find out. Standard TT. So it's really important that you grab that specific name correctly here and paste that. So I can create another string that will be for body text, okay? And I wanna just paste this one just right here, okay? So this is pretty much the settings that I like to use in the beginning, because whenever like we change, we can just come here and change in all the places that we may need. Okay, so the second one that I like to start organizing are the sizes that we want to use, right? So if we come here, we can just use size and backslash, let's say 16, right? Because 16 is the full value for our paragraph. But I can just check here what are the size they created. So we have 14, 16, 22. We can see the numbers here, right? So it's going to be pretty straightforward to organize that. So we have the 14. I will start actually from the top. So it's going to be 80, 80. That is the heading one. After that is going to be 60, 60. That is heading 2. The next one is going to be 40, 40. That we can see here. 34, the next one. Okay. And a big reason that I like to do that also, because you're going to understand that I want to make everything that we are building responsive. So it's really important that everything that we are organizing right now, they follow a structure that we can resize them easily later on. Okay, so let me just put that later on here, 22. And also don't worry, because my intention on building that is also to share that specific file with you guys, so you can just check later. So you see that we have 38 and 30, so let me add those numbers, 38 and 30 for large paragraphs. So 38 should be here, 30 should be here. So I stop it on 22. So we have actually we have 26 as well for the medium. 26 and 22. 16 is already here, and I think we are missing the 14 only, right? 14. Okay, so we have pretty much all the size that we need for our size. Okay, so the next thing that I want to build is the weight. If we can check, we can have like the regular, pretty much in almost everything, regular, bold. Okay, we can see that we have pretty much regular and bold. So I will just build them for now, because it's what we really need right now. So let me just create a new variable. Oops, I duplicated by mistake. So it's gonna be weight backslash regular, right? So we can see here regular, and we have, oops, I made a mistake, because it's supposed to be a string, not a number. So that's the thing. You could use a number in some point, but the only thing is because depending on the font that you're using, maybe the designer, they created in different scale. So maybe using like a 400 or 600, 700 is going to be different depending on the font. So usually I prefer to use strings, because you have a better control than when you say like bold, it's going to be bold, right? So let me delete that. So we have like the regular and bold. Okay, so pretty much look like everything is like a repeating, but repeating in this way, it's important for us because we're using the same structure that we need to use for our system right now. Okay, but it's all good. So for the size, I want to duplicate that. Usually I use the same for the line height. Okay, and there's another one that actually I noticed that they're using line height in percentage. The only problem is because variables, it doesn't save, let's say here, percentages really well. You could use, for example, a string, but even though on the string, let me show you here. if you use 160%, right, sometimes it's not going to work in the way that we want, right? So let me just even show you guys here. So we have the line height here, right? And if you want to use the, whoops, let me see, 160, right? So 160. So you see that 160, they don't find that information, okay? So that's why, like, I will recommend using a fixed number that is going to be easier. And also here, right, like you're gonna find other options as well, because this is like for the font, but also when you have like the paragraph spacing as well, you may need to change that later. But for now, I think it's gonna be good enough to start building the system that we need for the typography, okay? And okay, I will link those information now to this one. But before doing that, we're gonna create a new collection that is gonna be the typography collection, okay? So this one is gonna pretty much reflect what we have here, okay? So if we need to reflect, let me think about it, because what we could do, let me see if it's possible to do this in a very interesting way. It's like styles to variables, right? Like I think there's a couple of plugins that they can do that. I think this one, I already use it. Let me save, so I can just run this one. Okay, let me run. No color, okay, so they don't, they just transform. They just change the colors, but they don't create extra styles, styles variables. Let me see this one. Maybe this can help us. Text styles, okay. Scan page. Okay, so they have a couple of them. Okay, this one is not very organized. So anyways, I think it's gonna be easier that I just build here for you guys, because it's gonna take us less time to do all that. Okay, cool. So let's continue here. Okay, so first one is gonna be my string for the heading one. So headings, if you wanna add as a headings, and you can just add like a H1, because it's like what the name they are using. So you can see pretty much the same information we're gonna use. And inside the H1, we have the font family. So the structure that I like to use is like very similar to CSS. So it's gonna help us to organize that in a better way. Font size. So the font family for headings is gonna be headings here, right? Like so, this is the information that is coming. Font size, we already know that is 80 for this one, okay? The other one is gonna be the font weight. Font weight. So the font weight for this one is just regular, right? That we already know here. So we have like this line height and letter spacing. So in this case, I will keep like that, because we don't have like a easy way to use percentages on variables. So it's going to be a fixed value, okay? So we can duplicate that. So we can use for the heading 2, duplicate that for heading 3, right? So what we can just check now, that is for the heading 2, is using headings. The size is 60. and it's a regular, and this is like a heading 3 that is gonna be using 40, right? And regular. Okay, so we can repeat until we reach the heading 6, right? Heading 4, heading 5, and heading 6. Okay, so heading 4, let me check here. 34 is the size that I want to use. That's okay. Heading 5 is using 28 and is a bold now, you see, the heading 5. So let's go to the bold. And heading 6 probably is going to be a bold. So we go for the bold, and the number is 22. I like to use like a H6 usually for like a eyebrows for the titles. So I will recommend you to do the same. So now we can link that, right? So we know that this font for here, if we link the variable, so let me just reduce a little bit. We have the heading 1, so the font family is gonna be this one, right? And the weight for the heading 1, right, is gonna be regular, and the size is gonna be this one, okay, 80. Okay, so there's like there's a couple of things that is important when you do like all these settings. I will just do quickly, but it's important to set the values that you want to use correctly. There's another tutorial that I show in more details how to do that, but pretty much I will just go faster here, just to link these variables to the specific attribute that I want to use. Okay, so font weight also is gonna be just linked to the font weight, you see, only for that, and line height as well. I just want to use for line height. Okay, so these translate in the same way for here, right? Like for the scooping, you see, supposed to be only font family. This supposed to be only for size. So whenever we are using, you're gonna see now that it's gonna be better because it's not gonna show all the values that we want to use right here. So font family. So if you do like in an order, you don't need to repeat that so much because I already duplicated. But if you do the first one correct, because I was doing fast, that's the problem of like doing things a little bit faster. You can just do the first one correct, and later on you can just adjust and duplicate, and this is gonna be way easier. Okay, let me just go fast here. So if you want to pause or whatever it is, feel free, but I'm just trying to go fast just to organize things here. Regular font weight. Okay, I'm just finishing this. Font family, font size, right? And this font weight. And let's do that for the last heading. It's good because we don't have a lot of options, so makes like a very simple in this way. Font size and font weight. Okay, good. Now it's better because now that we have to link those text styles one by one, we know that when I go to heading 2, you see, I don't have a lot of options because it's only the font family. This should be regular for A2, you see, and this is the size for the A2. Heading 2, I want to go to this size. And you're gonna see in a little bit, once I finish completing this part, how this is gonna be really useful later on whenever like you're building responsive components for your project. Okay, font weight, font size for the heading 3. Let's go heading 3, font size. Okay, good. Now let's jump to the heading 4. This is the font family. We have the weight that we want to apply for heading 4 and the size that is 34 for the heading 4. Heading 4. Okay, perfect. Heading 5. You may ask me like, Juno, why you're doing all these things? Because I want to make something that whenever I have to change, especially like if you're using a WordPress theme and you want to make a child theme, you can change a lot of things, even the font, right? But the way it is right now is going to take you a lot of time. But what I want to make is like an easy way that you can just go and change that faster, and you can just design quickly to show that to your customer, right? So let's go to the heading 6. I'm finishing the headings now, and I will make like a quick demo. Okay, so the heading 6, I noticed that there's something wrong on this one because it's font family, you see? So that's why it wasn't displaying that information here. So heading 6 here. Now this is supposed to be, the heading 6 is bold, and this size that is coming here is gonna be 22. Okay, I'm done with the headings. Now we have to go. Now we have to go to the paragraphs. Okay, oops. I'm using this browser to record, but like in some way they drag that outside. Okay, so let's go and duplicate this one because this is gonna be my paragraph, and I can just use that to be the extra small first, and I will just move that outside, you see? So we have headings here. Let me close this one, and we have paragraphs. So we have the extra small. I will just change for the body text. That is going to be the paragraphs. This we know that is 14, the extra small, and the font weight for this is regular. Okay, regular. So this is what we have. So if I want to link that already, it's all good. I can just come here, go to the extra small paragraph, extra small font weight, and extra small font size. Okay, so now it's going to be easier because everything is already set up, right? Like to show in the correct scope, and I can just duplicate and jump to the small one, right? So this is going to be my small size. For the small size, as we can see, is regular, everything similar, 16, and is already using the body. So once I have that, right, I will just come over here. Let me just move around a little bit. So I have the small, right? Here we are going to use the small size, that is this one, and I will just go here to the small. Okay, perfect. So let me just use the structure like that. So I want to duplicate this group. So now we go for the default size. That is, okay, so the small one is 16, the default size is 22, okay, 22, and is regular 22, okay, perfect. So let's assign that for them, this is the default size. That's the default font weight, and this is the default font size. Perfect. So let me duplicate this, and now we go to the medium paragraph. The medium paragraph is 26, right? And so once we go here, this is gonna be medium. I know that look like a lot of work in the beginning, but once it's done, it's gonna save you so much time in your life that you're gonna be happy. Okay, actually I love doing those things. It's so easy, and once it's like organized, you're gonna help a lot of people to use that system. So 30 regular, so let's go there. I just don't like sometimes the interface, right? Like, because they keep changing the position. So you see like this, I have to scroll down, like it's not very easy to find out, like, because every time that you have to change, you have to go to different places. So I think this maybe need to be improved a little bit by Figma. Okay, this one is good. Now the last one, right? You see, extra large. I will move that to the top, and this is like a 38. And we can just link everything that we need. So the extra large is gonna come here. This is the extra large size here for the font weight, and this is the font size, extra large, 38. Okay, perfect. So everything is linked right now here on the styles, and we have all the variables. So what's the point of doing all that, right? Like you may need to ask, you're asking right now, because now this is my desktop size for fonts, right? And whenever we have like a component, I want to make that resizable automatically. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just creating the tablet mode and the mobile mode. Or actually, what we can do to maintain a consistency is like wide, medium, and narrow. I can use even the same name, wide, medium, and narrow, right? This is the names used by WordPress for here. So it's pretty much like a desktop, tablet, and mobile, but we can just keep the same name convention that we want to use. Okay, so means that from now, if I have a heading one here coming here, I will just duplicate that and I add that into a frame, right? And I have like a different frames, because this is going to be my tablet size, whatever, and this is going to be my mobile, right? So wide, medium, and narrow, medium and narrow. So what I can do is assigning that specific one to be wide, and this I will assign to be medium, and this I will assign to be narrow. Okay, so you don't see any difference because they are pretty much the same size right now. But let's say that this is supposed to be iPhone mini, right? Something like that. So they're gonna be way smaller, and this is gonna be my tablet size. Let's say this one, iPad mini. Okay, and I want to make sure that those texts, they're gonna resize based on what we have, right? So for now, let's go to the H1. Everything is 80/80, so that's why you don't see any difference. But let's say that for the narrow size, this is supposed to go down to the 34, and this is supposed to go to 40, right? So once we have that, and this is already like a linked to the medium size, and this is linked to the narrow size, right? Because that was the size that we assigned it. So let me just check it out here, what we have, because this is like a assigned to the 80, but this is supposed to be font size 80. Okay, that's why it's not working. But now we can see the difference of the fonts being controlled by the variables. It was linked to the wrong size, to the wrong variable. But now everything that I have is controlled by here, right? So it means that in the future, we don't want to use that. We want to use Lotto, whatever, right? So there's a bug that I noticed on Figma, that you have just to change this and they're gonna update. I don't know why, but they're gonna update that for sure, because they don't update on demand the variable here. I don't know why, but now it's working. But anyways, it's just one single place, one single structure that you connect everything together. Okay, so let me just move here back. So pretty much now we have the headings and the paragraphs already organized. So even if we just see them here, but it's important that everything is organized. So all the colors, by the way, they are not even organized here. So we should add also a collection, right, like here. And this we could just use it straight from the variables. So they already have some names they created. So we'll just create colors, and I just changed the color, background. We could use that to create like a dark mode or light mode, but for now, I think we can just use that. That's gonna be easier. So we have like the foreground. Oh, let me just retype that. And this is gonna be pretty much black. We have the primary color that is also black, and you have like the secondary that is going to be this one. Okay, and tertiary. Oops, just copy this. Tertiary. The best way actually to create all that in a other project, I can do this, but I'm just trying to simplify. But usually I will create like the typography system the same way. I will create like the grayscale or like the different shades for each one of the colors and link them to the primary, secondary, tertiary, because you can see that pretty much they follow the same like a color palette here, and we could do that to make it easier for us later to manage. Here I think they have just like an extra layer that we can use as a dual tone, you see. So maybe this like could be other colors that we could add. So in order to do this, you know what? I will just add as dual tone, and I will just add for now the color that we have, because we don't have the name of those colors, but it's all good. At least we can just have them on the system first, and later on, whenever we have each one of the colors, we could use even like some names of like famous people or famous musics in jazz, right? Like I think it will be cool if we could just have that here. But for now, I will just leave that like this, so we can use that for dual tone purpose later on. So this is like the sample they are using, right? Like probably they are using, I don't know, like maybe a filter or something here. Okay. They are using a multiply on top. Okay. So that's the way that they are applying that layer on top of everything. So here, if you see, you already have some shades that's supposed to be here, right? Because we don't have, we have actually the secondary here. Let me check if there's any other color that we don't have. We have this active, we have the focus. Okay, they're using very similar color for everything, so it's okay. It's not a big deal. Let me see the link color. This is this secondary color. Okay, it's a very simple system, but by the end, like they look good actually working together. So there's some patterns they created, so we can build that pattern using as components as well, right? So if you see here, actually, we have a couple of components they created. So let me even go there, right? Like, so just to go to the main component they created. So they are leaving on the styles component here. Okay, so we have this one and we have this one. Okay, so you see that this is 22 and this is 22 bold and this is 22 regular, right? So if you go back, 22 is the default paragraph for us, right? That's what it is for now, for the navigation, right? For these two different navigation. So what we could is assign that actually to the paragraph default, right? And they had some other like settings on that. But let's say that you want to use something like this for the typography. So you have like this, I think it's the default, but this is like the bold weight that they want to use, right? And once you go to the narrow one, they're using the same size, but they go to the regular, right? So let's say that you want to make this linked, right? You see that they're going to be like this, but this one I can link to the default mode, but the only thing is because, okay, you know what? I noticed they have an extra space here because you have like a -3 for this logo they are using, right? Like a -3, and the text, the paragraph itself, they are not like that. So let me see. Oops, what happened here? My file just crashed. I don't know what happened, guys. Okay, Figma just crashed. Okay, so what we supposed to do a better job here, maybe, is instead of using that, I will use the default. I will duplicate this, okay, for now, and I will just leave this outside of the paragraphs because I want to make this as the logo. And the paragraph itself, the medium, I will just make sure that they are like a regular, all of them. But this one, that is the logo, right? That is just a copy of that. The default is gonna be back to this one. Okay, so this is supposed to be 22 for everybody. I duplicated the wrong one. This is gonna be the bold one, right? And we can create a new one for this, right? So this is a pretty much like a copy of that, but you cannot really copy. So what we can do is just come in here, right? And select this one just to see. I will just unlink that for now. This is -3% they are using, right? So let me just 110 just to copy correctly. Just to build the very similar one that we have here. So this is going to be the logo, right? So if you see now, it's correct the way that they created here. -3 -3%. Okay, so now that this is the similar font that we are using, right? Okay, good. So this is like the logo, the title. I think there's a different name on WordPress for that, but for now I will just use as logo, and we can just add as logo this text style. Okay, so you can see that we have this last one that is going to be the logo, and if I link this one to the logo, it's going to be bold for now. But what we can do, and by the way, like this small detail that is like a resizing, I think we can just make like for the logo that is going to be changing. Let me go back to the logo here. -3, blah, blah, blah. So on the options that we have here, I want to make this tile case. So it's going to be always tile case for this. Okay. So the only thing is because this is not assigned to be mobile or narrow, but once I assign, you see that it's changing from bold to regular, which is like what they created. I don't know why. I think maybe it's like a wrong, the way that they made it. So you see like the blue note, it doesn't even look like that is bold, right? I think it's not bold. I think something is wrong on that. Because if I inspect that quickly, you see that it's like a 22, but there's no bold actually. I think there's no bold on that logo, you see? But okay, so we can fix that only using this. Coming here, and this is going to be regular. Actually, if I go here, we could even check, I think it's site title or something like that. This one. Let me see. The class, you see site title. Yeah, that's the name. That's the correct name. So site title. Oops. Title is the correct name for this one. So I will just add the name correctly here, so we know whenever we are using those things. Okay, cool. So we have that. I think this one, the menu, man, this is not a really good way to do a menu. Anyways, and this is like a 22, and but look like this is bigger, right? Like then it's 22 as well. It look like a little bit bigger. But if it's not bigger, it's all good. We can just use the same. They're just using the same paragraph for that, right? So this is gonna be way easier because it's just like using the default paragraph here. But that's the thing, like they are using a site title case for this as well. So what I like to do is like being very specific on those things, because you can make the menu navigation very specific as well, instead of like having this like this. Okay, so we could pretty much have this one, because we have the same setting, very similar, and you could just create like a menu items or menu item, because this is going to be unique, and this menu item pretty much is going to use same things that we have for the paragraph, so we don't need to recreate them. Right? Oops, here. There's the paragraph default, right? Like if you see here, paragraph default is the size and the font weight, all the stuff that they are using. So we can just reuse that. We don't need to recreate another one. And the tile case is going to be like that for the menu. Okay, good. So if I am using that, means that whatever I use, yeah, perfect, is already tile case the way that I need. So make sure that this is using the menu item, so it's going to be linked correctly. Okay, so this is not actually a really good way, because there's not even like a auto layout on that, right? Like, so this is the size they want to use, like 120, which is okay, that is not a problem. But to make a better header, I will just make a better menu first, right? So to do this, the first thing that I will do to fix that, right, is going to be using menu item here. Okay, and to do this, I will first center these things, right? So as you can see, I want to make this resizable, right? Like this is, it was fixed, but I want to make sure that this is going to be resizable, right? And so I will use an auto layout on this case to have like a minimum space that I want to use. Okay, I will just create like a, for now, 8 but we can make a grid. I think on the next sequence of this video, I will make like this as a second, like a grid system that we can follow along. Okay, so having that, I will just create a new component that is kind of, I will call menu item, but I like to use this as a main menu item, right? Because you don't want to let people use that, so people needs to use the menu navigation as well. So it's gonna be a couple of those together, could be even more, right? Like because you may need to have more, and this is gonna be your navigation. Okay, navigation. Okay, cool. So once you have that, that's the thing. We could even use as a 0, because maybe the space that we already have here is already like a giving enough space, or maybe I just need to increase that for, oops, for 12 here, right? And this is going to probably help me to achieve the same space that I want for those items, right? So if I want to measure here, and I want to even test, right, like I can just have the same text, so I can just measure the space that I want. But you see, like pretty much is that. Okay, so I don't even need to complete all those things. I will reset that, and this is gonna be my navigation that I will just create as a component. Okay, this is the real component. Just to have like a better way to organize, I like to use like the current name, and you can just use like a menu 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's like a little bit more organized whenever you have. And you can use this wrap functionality because like whenever like the menu is bigger, maybe you want to like resize that. Okay, so that could be the best way to do this. So I don't like personally to save components like that because it's very confusing. So I will recommend you guys to use like sections, and you can use the same color if you like to organize things. It's not a problem, but I will recommend using real sections because you can see what exactly are the components that you are building. I will just make a 16 curve, so we can use this as components. Okay, and this is my header component, right? Like that. Oops, I think we have this duplicated. So you see that this is the header for the desktop, right? So that's what exactly we have. And we have some already spacing that we want to use here, right? Like so, if you see that, right? And we can even lock that to check it out, how this is going to work. I can have this one that I will duplicate, put it outside a little bit with this navigation, right? We can have an auto layout here. And this, I will just like have this fixed for now, just to help us to understand a little bit the alignment those guys created, because this is supposed to align automatically, right? Not the way it is right now, that is pretty random the way that they created things. Okay, so this is supposed to be here, right? So once we create that, so the size of this specific item, if you see, is 1440 and 112, right? So save these numbers, right? Like I can just even screenshot so you guys can remember with me. This is the size of this menu, this header. Okay, so I will just turn on the auto layout so they can be distributing like the content for us, so we can see the space that we want to have in between them, right? So look like if I want to have this and this, pretty much I want to distribute that, but I want to reduce a little bit the space that we have, and maybe even remove like the 5 and 4 and 5 for now. So let me see the space that we have. Okay, if it's 0, if it's auto, it's distributing. So let me see what's happening here. Okay, 60 is pretty much the space that they want. Perfect, and here's like a 40, 60 and 40, okay. So this one, actually we don't need anymore. So let me see, okay, because this is fixed, so that's why. Now I figured it out. So let me just delete this navigation. So pretty much this is, if I just comment Z quickly so you guys can see what I did for this one, is because now we have all this navigation correctly organized. So it's latest posts, right? Like I can even just have that so you guys can have the same navigation here. So let me just lock this. This is the navigation that they created, right? And let me delete that, delete this, and I want to show you guys how this is gonna work, right, for us. So if we have that, you have the about, you have the get involved, right? So this is like pretty much the navigation that we built. And that's the thing, we don't even have a hover right now but there's a couple of things that we can of course improve, because there's like a maybe a hover, and also if you want to add a drop down, things like this, we can implement using this simple system that we already created. Okay, so this is what we are using. This is like the size 120 and 1440. So the good thing is, because nowadays Figma implemented a lot of different stuff, right? Like, so now actually they created this new interface to me. Sometimes I have to find out, okay, here. So we have the max. The max I like to use 1600, but it's up to you. But this is like the minimum height that could be 120 for the desktop, right? Like, so this is the minimum. For the mobile, you see that is like a goes down to 100, right? And the max height is 120 as well. Okay. Or in case that you want, maybe we can just use as 100, because we may need to reduce that later. Okay. Okay, cool. Delete this one, right? So this is actually our real header that we want to use. The same principle actually we can use for the footer, right? Like that we have, they already created that. We can use the same principles. And here is a secondary footer, okay? So we have two different footers they created. They have like a dark footer and like a light mode footer, right? Okay, that's a good idea to have a light or dark mode working now. Let me think about it that. Or maybe it's not even light or dark mode, maybe it's just optional, right? Like that's a thing. I won't use as a light dark mode because maybe, let me think about it. Let me see the system they have here. You see, like maybe it is this way actually. Actually, we could have that different mode, because I think it depends on the page you're using, right? Like I think it's only on the main page, on the home page, they have the dark, you see, the dark footer, because there's like a text, all this stuff. So pretty much there are two different stuff. So here is the site title. We can just link to the site title. This is the site title. The same thing, site title. Okay. And here is the menu item, as you can see. And this is like another thing. That is the 14, right? 14 is gonna be the extra small here, right? So let me see the space, 110%. Okay, why this is like a 160, 10%, and this is like a -3. It's weird because look, like the system that we have, it doesn't work like that. So by the way, let me organize a couple of things because it's horrible the way it is. So I will just add as headings, because it's gonna be a little bit more organized in folders. Paragraph, I will just add a backslash here, so we can just have all the things that we need organized, because for real, I'm not really fan the way it is, the things here. Paragraphs, oops. Paragraphs. So what we could is like instead of building new ones, right? Like we can just fix that, because it's 110 -3. So like 110 -3. Okay, so this is like the extra is small, pretty much. So if I go here, this is the extra small. You see, like you don't see any difference. And before I used to create one by one, but now with the shortcuts, like for underline, italic, all this stuff, like you don't need to create all of them, because I think Figma made like a little bit better. So the same goes for this, right? Like this is the 40. So 110, 20 minus 3 for the 40. Let me see. 110. Okay, you see like 110%. So let's fix this stuff. Minus 3. Minus 3. Okay, so now the heading 3 will be better. Heading 3. Boom. It's the same. Let's compare. So this is like a mixed. Okay, so let me just do a copy. Oops. And we can just check the difference between them. Okay, the paragraph is 110, 120, sorry. So the paragraph size okay. And let me see now, because this is like 120%, you see. I think it's gonna be way easier if we just had this one. This is gonna be the heading 4 here, right? And here's like you can keep that mixed. Heading 4. Oops, no. Heading 4. This is the heading 3, right? Like, okay. Let me see, heading 3. Heading 3. Okay, so the only difference between that, because I can make this bold, but you see like the size of those things, 96. Okay, so I need to make this heading 3 a little bit bigger. Yeah, they changed a couple things that makes stuff a little bit more complicated. Okay, the line height is 110 and 120%. Okay, so now it's the correct one. Okay, paragraph spacing 0. Okay, I was checking the wrong side. Sorry about that. So now it's like a correct, the heading 3, right? Like we fix it following a little bit the structure that we have for this. And this is like a 110 minus 3 is the menu. 10 minus 3. So this could be 110 minus, but in this case we just want to have like a 2 different navigation here. Oops, let me just move myself here. Okay, and we can just change the color to use the background color here, you see. So what they want to do is like having 2 different menu items right here. Okay. So The cool thing about that is because if you see all that, I will just delete this one for now. Is because Figma, they have the Command Shift A that is gonna organize a little bit better all the auto layouts that we have here, right? So whatever we have here, Command Shift A, oops, no, Command Shift A. I think it's not working for me. Let me see. There's like a Command Shift A. Maybe like the shortcut on my computer is not allowing me to do that. Add auto layout, more suggested auto layout. You see? It's Control Shift A. Okay, now you see that they already arranged a little bit the things. So they have 66, 60, 46. This is the space that they created for us automatically, right? So this one, so this is like a site title and credits, right? They are not very good on renaming, by the way. So here I will have the site title and social menu, and this is like just a heading 3, right? Like a heading 3, or maybe this is the site description. That's why it's like that. And so instead of having this, maybe even using auto, so I'm gonna distribute automatically the size, and pretty much I think this is gonna be useful for us for now. Okay, I think this, you don't need to fill. You could, right? Like I think, but I think if you use auto here also as well, I think it's gonna be good. Okay, because this one also is hugging. Okay, that's good. Instagram and Twitter, right? Like because you want to use like a Instagram, Twitter. Okay, so actually this one could be the navigation itself that I use it, but removing 3 items, right? So you can delete, is gonna hide. So I can just add this right here, and so this one I will make the color to be white, and this is like a social menu, and this is Instagram, and this is like a Twitter, right? That it doesn't even exist anymore, and this we could just have that to the left. Okay, good. So this is hugging, this is hugging, this is feeling, right? Like maybe this can be hugging as well. Okay. Actually, like if you want to make both of them like a feeling, they're gonna use 50-50%. That's okay. Okay, but we have the footer now working in the same way that we want for both of them, right? And the same principle can goes right here. Okay, so I think this is like let me see the concept that we want to use. So this is like the footer number 3. That's weird. Let me see. Or it's not renaming correctly, right? Footer black I will use, and this is footer transparent. So once you have that, right? This one, let's say that I want to reset everything. Okay, so now is the footer black right here. Okay, cool. That's awesome. And here is the header that's supposed to use like the latest one, whatever they created, right? Like on the component, remember? I can just even recover that so we can use the same fonts, right? Like, okay, I forgot now, but I will find out. But pretty much is like the structure that we wanna use for that. Okay, so here are some good stuff, but not very organized, not really well renamed. You see, the spacing are good, but not the best. So maybe this is like we have to redo that in a better way, for sure. Okay, here there's 2 blocks of information, and this is like a very interesting because like this is something that for now Figma doesn't allow you to do something like that. That's so sad. So they have different blocks, different things. Okay, that's cool. So we have a lot of work to build that. So I think this is like just the beginning, having the header and footers. I will just complete this footer for desktop, okay? And I will continue in a secondary video of this series, okay? So what we are gonna do is pretty much the same, right? Like I will just like make this as a auto suggest the auto layout, but for me that's the thing. We still need to make some fixes here, right? Because they do that, but it's not perfect yet, right? So you see that they use different logics to do this, right? So I'm not really fond the way that they created things here. Let me remove. This auto layout. (60/60) and 65/55. They don't have the same space. Okay, so let me just move this to here. This one is supposed to have the same alignment. And now we can have the same thing here. So we have this social navigation that is going to be coming here. What is this? This we can go away with that. This one is going to use the primary color. And this we can just make that using fill. And this is the space that we want to use between them. Okay, cool. So we have the same structure that we are using here. So if you want to check one of the ways that it's good to see is just showing the outlines, so you can see that we have the same structure that we have for both of them, right? Okay, so if you need like more items on the footer, it's gonna be okay. And yeah, so I think that's what cover for now. But let me rename things here quickly just to have the same structure. It's not really well rename it. And site credits and social menu, right? Okay, cool. And this, in this one, we can just like suggest the auto layout. Let me see, 325 maybe is the minimum. Okay, so 60 and 6. Okay, suggest auto layout. So this is supposed to be 60, 60. I think I will fix a couple of things here because I want to make a even also. 60. Look. Okay, so this one supposed to be like this. Here 325, right? Like something like this for the navigation. So what we can do is like adding a minimal height, 325. So it's gonna be minimal that specific size. 1440 is the size that we are using for everything else. So this is the foot transparent. That is pretty much everything that we are using here. Okay, foot transparent, foot transparent. Okay, cool. So you see, like for most of the things that we need to use, they are already linked to us. Okay, and so the next video I will just start like a building that page, and after I will jump to the other ones for you guys. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy. There's much more to come. Thank you.